Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, please don't forget to click on that big subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So today I'm talking about a couple of things. We're going to be going through the Star Trek Prodigy trailer that came out as part of the Star Trek Day events the other day. But also I'm going to be going over something that's come to my attention just recently about the new Star Trek Picard trailer, which I did a breakdown and review of yesterday. Something has come to my attention about that trailer that is very, very interesting and links back to Star Trek Voyager. So firstly, a big shout out to Linda Marks, one of my subscribers who spotted this in the trailer for Star Trek Picard. So you guys, having watched the trailer, the new one that just came out for Star Trek Day, for Star Trek Picard, if you haven't seen my breakdown and review of that, I'll link it up here for you to have a look at. In that trailer, there is a shot of Picard in what looks like a police interrogation room. On first glance, yeah, it's Picard talking to some cop in an interrogation room. But I don't think it's just any cop. If we zoom in on this guy and have a look at his face, he seems vaguely familiar. He's got about 25 years on him since we last saw him in Star Trek. You guys might remember an episode of Star Trek Voyager called Relativity, which involved a Federation time ship from the 29th century, basically going around and patrolling incursions in the timeline, things that had been upset, and they were kind of trying to correct things that had been misplaced and so forth in the whole temporal, scheme of things. Now, the time ship Relativity was captained by Captain Braxton, but he turned out to be the bad guy in the episode, and he essentially got hauled off to jail or whatever time jail is. But his first officer, Duquesne, who we saw quite a bit in this episode of Voyager. If we have a look at this photo of Duquesne, who was the first officer on board the Relativity, and we have a look at this cop that's kind of interrogating Picard in this, what seems like some sort of police interrogation room. Geez, they look similar. It looks like these guys are the same actor. Now, that's going to be kind of a bit mind-blowing. If Picard and crew have gone back in time, I guess it makes sense that if there's a ship out there patrolling the temporal incursions in the Star Trek universe, and it's captained by Duquesne, who would have taken over from Braxton or whatever after he got hauled off to jail, it seems like there's a fairly good chance, if you guys, I mean, it's a profile, it's only the one shot, but geez, it looks like the same actor. And I'm really kind of wondering, is this Duquesne, the time cop from the Federation's Temporal Incursions Bureau or whatever it was, doing an interrogation with Picard for his incursion into the 21st century? Very, very interesting. Let me know what you guys think. And now we're going to get into the Prodigy trailer breakdown. So yeah, as part of the Star Trek Day events, we had the new Prodigy trailer drop, which showed us some really good stuff to do with the new ship, the USS Protostar. We got to see Janeway, a lot more shots of the ship. Let's break down this trailer, look at it shot by shot, see what we can learn about the upcoming season of Star Trek Prodigy. So the trailer begins with a look at this scrappy kind of old ship graveyard where our heroes are obviously put to work. And a voice over the PA says, "Hope has no purpose here." And I recognise the voice of who does this. It's got to be D. Bradley Baker, who plays all of the clones in Star Wars, Clone Wars Rebels and Bad Batch, because it sounds just like them.
Hope has no purpose here.
We get a nice shot of the USS Protostar, and Roktak asks, "How did a ship get inside here?" To which Zero replies, "The more important question, how do we get it out?" Then we hear Dahl saying, "Join us, you always wanted to see the stars." And Murph coos. Next we see Roktak using a Starfleet communicator badge to activate or boot up the ship. The displays come to life, and we see that the Protostar has the sort of holographic displays, much like the last Serena. Next we get our first look and listen at the animated Janeway. Great to hear Kate Mulgrew here, reprising her role as Janeway. And she says, on behalf of Starfleet, welcome aboard. Dahl says, what is that? As the rest of the crew look on a bit confused. But it does show us a very nice glimpse at the bridge of the Protostar, which looks great. We get a nice beauty shot pullback of the Protostar from underneath. This is a really nice looking ship. Now in this shot we see our characters on the front of the bridge, but we've got Gwyn. Looks like she's restrained in the captain's chair with some form of electrified restraints there. Just as Janeway activates what appears to be some sort of stellar cartography hologram. It looks like there's a bit of a learning curve to piloting the Protostar, As Jankum points out to Zero, have you ever flown a ship before? To which Zero replies, no, does it show? As they crash into a pylon and Murph slides across the floor. I really feel like Murph's going to kind of be the R2-D2 equivalent for this crew. Next we see what looks like Rok-Tahk trying to apprehend Gwyn, and she's struggling doing some fancy moves here to evade her. Our crew here obviously learning the controls of the Protostar, get things a bit wrong and manage to disable gravity. We get another pretty flyby shot of the Protostar. Some of these flyby shots, particularly this atmospheric one, really look gorgeous. Some of these ship animations almost look as good as the live action stuff. We get Gwyn saying this ought to be good as Dahl drives some sort of mining vehicle up the stairs and crashes it through a gantry. In fact, Dahl driving fast ATV type vehicles on various different planets seems like it might be a recurring theme in this show. Also in the cast of Star Trek Prodigy is Jimmy Simpson, who plays the character of Dreadnought, and John Noble from Fringe and Lord of the Rings, who plays the Diviner. John Noble's the Diviner is the villain of the show and is described as a ruthless tyrant in charge of the asteroid Tars Lamora, and he is hunting the USS Protostar, the show's hero ship. Now, the Diviner also happens to be the father of the character of Gwyn. I'm sure this will give the show a kind of a Luke Skywalker / Darth Vader kind of dynamic going on, and the character of Dreadnought is the Diviner's enforcer, so he's kind of almost like Darth Vader is to the Emperor. Next we get a series of combat shots, Dahl pointing a phaser, Rok-Tahk throwing a security droid, and Gwyn almost attacking Zero with a sword. Just to cement this show in the Delta Quadrant, we see what I assume is one of the Diviner's henchmen in the form of a Kazon, some kind of giant spidery looking robot creature that's threatening our heroes. Dreadnought firing a massive phaser cannon at the Protostar. Next we get a fun little sequence where the crew are trying to find the phaser controls to shoot out a exit point so they can escape from wherever they're escaping from, and trying to find the button that goes pew pew pew. I like the levity and the tone in this show. It seems like it's going to be fun. The trailer concludes with Janeway saying, I've seen my share of wayward crews and I can tell you this, you've got potential. One really positive thing that I heard the Hagemans say at the Star Trek Day events is that one thing they've made sure of about Star Trek Prodigy is that it doesn't talk down to kids. They said kids are very, very smart, they're intelligent, they don't need to be talked down to. This fills me with a lot of confidence in this show because people were a little bit worried about Prodigy and they're going, it's an animation and it's a kids show. I don't want to watch some kids show. But that's not necessarily going to be the case. I think Prodigy is very well going to do for the Star Trek franchise what the Clone Wars and the Star Trek Rebels and the Bad Batch have done for the Star Wars franchise. I'm a big fan of the Clone Wars and Rebels and so forth. I thought they were great TV series. I was able to watch them with my kids. They were great Star Wars stories, and I didn't feel in any way they were talking down to me or being too kiddish. They were good Star Wars stories. They were well told, respected canon, all that sort of thing. And I kind of get the impression that the Prodigy series is going to be along those same lines. Yes, it's going to be animation. Yes, it's going to be skewed slightly towards a younger audience. But I don't think it's going to be a show that only kids can enjoy. I think adults are going to be able to enjoy this show as well, on the basis that a lot of Star Trek imagery in episodes has been a little bit darker of late, with things that have happened in Discovery and Star Trek Picard with some quite dark scenes of, murder and decapitation and eyes being plucked out and eyes being stabbed and all this sort of thing, which we kind of react to in a way that's like, this is a bit dark for Star Trek. Maybe Prodigy will lighten Star Trek a little bit so that it will actually reflect the Berman era of Star Trek a little bit closer. And I think that's got to be a great thing. It was great to get a look at the bridge for the Protostar. The ship looks great. I think it's a fantastic looking ship. I think a lot of people have asked me in the comment section of my previous Prodigy video how big I think the Protostar is, and I would think that it's somewhere kind of around the size of, say, the USS Defiant or the USS Equinox we saw in Star Trek Voyager. Probably somewhere around between those two sort of ships. Great to see Janeway. Kate Mulgrew, I'm really looking forward to her involvement in this series. I think it's going to add a lot of credibility and gravitas to the show. We got our first look at the villains for Star Trek Prodigy, voiced by Jimmy Simpson, and John Noble. Love John Noble, great actor. Loved him in Fringe. If you guys are after a good sci-fi series to watch, I remember it's a few years old now, but if you liked X-Files, then Fringe was a great TV series, and John Noble played a really amazing, quirky character in that show. So I think he's a really good choice to be involved in Star Trek Prodigy. I'm sure he'll make a very good villain. He was also good in the Lord of the Rings movies. I think he was a bit of a villain in the Lord of the Rings movies as well. He was great in that. Guys, let me know what you thought about the Star Trek Prodigy trailer, the latest one that's come out, and also your thoughts on the whole time ship relativity and Duquesne, who we saw in that Voyager episode, and whether he is in fact the cop that is interrogating Picard in the interrogation room in the Picard trailer. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. As always, please leave a super thanks if you're able to. It really helps the channel out. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. There's a lot of my viewers who aren't subscribers, so please, if you've seen a couple of my videos and you regularly pop back in and haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. And then there's always my merch store, which has great Star Trek themed t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, caps, and all that sort of thing you can grab for a good bargain price and help support the channel as well. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys very soon again for my next review. So much to talk about. See you soon.